Welcome and thank you for joining me today here on Plan to Paint with Jim Sponseller. Today we're going to do one of the famed black canvas wet on wet technique paintings, and it's only going to use 3 paints today. So I've already prepared my black canvas, but there's a layer of thin down phthalo turquoise over the entire canvas, and then we've got titanium white and we've got a lamp black today. And what we're going to be painting is a deep ocean or deep sea painting with some jellyfish kind of floating out here on the currents. About 3 in my painting, maybe a couple more. The distance as we go, we'll see. Right now I'm planning just 3 kind of in the foreground. It's going to be a little bit more of a detailed painting than normal because we are looking at just a couple of fairly up close jellyfish. So I think a lot of the same techniques we use for the landscapes are going to transfer to this type of painting very easily, but I have not painted one of these yet, so this is a bit of an experiment and you get to join along because this is my time I get to paint, and I'm happy to have you along to paint along with me as we try interesting new subject matter and techniques. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a little bit of titanium white, and just a very small amount. We don't want titanium white's a pretty strong tinting strength. So you don't really need a lot. We're going to work it into the bristles really good. What we want to do is get a cast of direction of where the light's coming from. And these are going to be somewhat bioluminescent because it's very dark in the ocean, so they're going to be brighter than what they would be from the light coming down from above. But we still want to represent that light coming from above. So we're going to start at the top. We're just going to go touch in here with our brush. Turn the brush over to get the white out of both sides. And we're going to do the same crisscross motion we do for skies here. You'll see that starting to lighten up there and starting to show. Got a touch of light. We're going to fade into the dark. As we get lower. I'm going to come across probably about 1/3 of the way down. One of the other things to note here is this is an 18 by 24 inch canvas, but I have it turned in a portrait style rather than landscape where we normally paint. That's because we're closer and I want more vertical space for the trailing tentacles of the we're going to go all the way down, a little bit of light down through, but get all of our brush strokes going in the same direction here. And with the black canvas, it really picks up my backlighting quite a bit, so it's kind of shiny. I apologize for that, but there's not a lot that can be done about that. Alright. I think I want to add just a touch more. Lighten that up just a little bit more. And if you don't have it quite as light as you'd like it to be, you can simply pick up a little more paint and do the process over again. So, starting at this corner. And there we go. Now we're bright. And with just that white paint, we're really picking up. And it's okay, you can leave little bits of darker areas in here because as the water waves move by, it plays with the light a little bit as it comes through. Now, just kind of blend this back out here. Up, and then come back up, go back down a little bit. Just give it a little bit of light back down. There, now we've got a very representative of a lot of light coming in from the water higher up. Now we want to clean off our brush. This is probably the worst, most difficult part of this technique, is that it As your brush muddies, the effects become less drastic, and so you got to keep cleaning your brush off. And since I don't really use solvent in my process here, it's basically taking a towel and getting a little bit of oil on there. It helps thin what's on the bristles down, and then drying it off on a towel, which pulls more of that paint off. And it won't be perfect, but you can see it's still blue, but a lot less bold blue than. I'll pick up some of that white again. I'll bring that down. I may have to put more white out as a little bit of oil as we get further into the painting here. And so we need to decide where are these jellyfish going to exist in your painting here. And I kind of want one here, I believe, and we're just going to bring this around. And we're just taking our brush and we're pivoting it around on itself. And making a bit of a circle, half circle. We're going to kind of lift it as we get towards the edge. We'll keep going over it and we'll keep it that way to keep lightening it up. I got this idea. I was watching a Bill Alexander video where he was painting a vase in still life on this. And then very lightly we're just going to kind of go across. And basically rounding out those giving him some form here. And that's quite a bit of light there. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this white. I'm going to have another one. He's going to be kind of floating back down away from that light up there. Again, decide where you want him. Lay it down and pivot. And then round him out. We want one more in my painting. I think we're going to have growing up, and this one looks like it needs to be a little bit wider here. Like he's just about ready to launch himself. So he's going to be a little bit wider. One more dancing along here. They're having a little dance party. This one's going to be swimming back up into the group. Get down here. This one I'm going to actually make a little bit. See, he's stretching out, getting filled with water so that he can shoot himself forward into motion. See, he's got his tentacles kind of coming out. These aren't just these are just the edges along the rim of the jellyfish. And they have a lot of kind of a main central stem and a lot of tentacles that flow around that to help gather prey, capture prey. They're interesting creatures. Really are. Kind of fascinating. And I want to strengthen this up a little bit here. He needs to see his edge is a little bit rough here. I'm interested to see what happens when we do this with different colors. I could think maybe a crimson layer with yellow, cadmium yellow used as the light source. Make for some nice vibrant orange jellyfish. I might try that one another time, but ultimately you see that there's some motion going on here. What I'm doing now is kind of giving some of their small, closer tentacles a little more definition. So what we're going to do is take a fan brush now, and we're going to make that main stem. The main stem kind of looks similar to how we might do a clouds in the sky. So I'm going to get some titanium white on the brush there. I may not even use much of the black today. It's just black is there, kind of there. If I get overly state my lights a little too bit and need to add some shadowing. But given that these are almost bioluminescent, they don't have a lot of shadow to display. We're going to start in the center here, and we're just going to kind of dance this around, back and forth. And now we're getting the current kind of taking it a little bit here. Some more white. This actually kind of gets more into the center up in here. Dance it around up in there a little bit more. And I had to look up some reference images and kind of review them a little bit, but if you have a reference in front of you, you might want to use it. Or if you're not real certain how you're dancing your little jellyfish out here, just keep picking up. It's always good to have a reference. Just kind of dance them around here, a little bit, twisting the brush a little bit here and there. Keep picking up more white as you go. You want the effects of the shadow. This one's just going to roll right off the page. But you want the effects of the lighter and the darker areas, showing the shadows and where it's more luminescent, and kind of breaking up and gets lots of little things going on in there. Because looks similar to what you might define as clouds. Now we're not going to fluff it out and we're not going to smooth them out, because these really have hard edges, little bits of flesh. Get a little bit of structure in here. Alright. With a liner brush, get some oil and some white on there. We're going to add the streaming tentacles. And so you pick up a little more. You can put in as many of these as you'd like. They kind of tend to flow around. You kind of have to keep looking at your painting and seeing what you think makes sense. I wouldn't worry too much about the attachment points here. We're going to go back over this and redefine, you know, this rim comes over top of the central spot. You know, it's going to be a little bit lighter back and around here so that we can build some volume in there. Lighter on the edges, a little bit darker inside. That's where the black paint's going to come in a little bit. This one you can't really see too much of the inside. The way it's shaped here, this one again you can't, but this one's kind of coming at an angle away from us, so we're going to show a little bit more of the underside when we get to that point. Yeah, a little more oil. I find this is a very interesting subject to have make a painting of with this technique. I think it's really kind of a... I think they're fun to watch as they swim around somewhat aimlessly. Doing their thing out in the ocean. This one maybe doesn't have quite as long tentacles. Maybe he got in a fight and lost a few. Some shark tried to grab him. Actually, I don't know if sharks even prey on them. And we got this one. So this one's kind of getting ready to launch. So you see it's got an initial tentacles kind of flaring out a little bit there. I think the tentacles generally are longer than the stem, so I'll probably have to add a few in here that are go right back over the ones that I've got there and make them a little bit longer. And don't be afraid about missing your mark. If you made it once, you can make it again. Oil on here. Nice one right along here. Alright. Now comes the actually defining parts. I'm going to go actually define these a little bit more solid here. Like I said before, if you could make the mark before, you can make it again, but we're going to pull these out even further here. as you cross over them, you start to build up a hierarchy of what's in front of what. And how the tentacles kind of get twisted together in the water. But they trail off almost ghost-like. Give him back. I think he needs his tentacles to be even longer playing out here in the currents. It's amazing what you can do with just a few paints, though. And it's kind of important as you're doing this that you move your brush back and forth. These tentacles, they don't generally lay straight. They're getting pushed around by the currents and the movement of the jellyfish itself. And there are other things swimming in and around them. You just kind of let it flow right off your brush, right out of your mind onto the canvas. Beautiful, beautiful way of painting. Alright, so now we have to clean off our brush a good bit. And I got a much smaller palette today. Since we were only using 3 colors, I decided I didn't want to wrestle with the larger palette. So it's alright if you would like to see how I make these. Let me know in the comments. I'll put a video up on how I create my painting palettes. It's always good to have a skill to don't have to go looking at the store every time for something you want. Let me set this down. Let's get my brush off here. So what we need to do now is we're going to add some embellishments to the base and some smoothing. Because they don't, right now it's very a lot of brush strokes in there. And kind of want to soften that up, as well as obscure a little bit of what's inside here. And then we'll add some more light and a little bit of dark to really bring the definition out. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get a dry fan brush, a small fan brush. And number 2 here. Yeah, this one's just a number 2 fan brush. We're going to leave it dry. We're just going to come in here and we're going to very lightly go over top of this. So the idea is we don't want to leave the brush strokes in. We want this to blend out. We're going to go right over where those tentacles connect. We're going to blend that in. But this is where things get a little more delicate than our normal painting process. But it'll be very worth it in the end. And if you see yourself, you're leaving brush strokes in there, you go with a softer touch. Be careful when you lift paint too. When you get into these whites, as you get closer into these regions, you're going to want to clean your brush off every time you lift it, so you don't leave a hard mark in, because that's how you get hard, distinct marks. If you're moving along, you're blending. If you lift and touch, you're going to leave a stark mark, and we don't want that in this particular painting. At least I don't. Some people like that style, and that's how they. Me, I like smooth transitions where I want smooth transitions, and so things to keep in mind while you're. We're just going to go right over this with the edge of the brush, right into those tentacles. Want them to just kind of blend right in like they're all one piece, because they are. Yep. Follow your own advice, Jim. You lifted your brush, so go ahead and clean it off. And as you work this paint into the layer below, you're going to darken a little bit here. Because you're picking up more of that paint underneath. You go over this part, you don't get a little hair in there. Must be on the layer underneath. You don't want to completely destroy the structure you have behind it. You just want it to blend a little bit to show that you're seeing it through the jellyfish and not in front of the jellyfish. Bring this all around. You have a harder edge here because this side of the jellyfish facing us is covering and obscuring that what lies behind there. So we're going to pull that edge up very, very gently. This is all very, very gentle and soft touches. Again, notice I'm moving a little bit of a circular motion here because this is a circular shape. So it helps the strokes, any brush strokes that go on there, follow the form of the surface, and it directs the eye around the object. Pull up towards the center of it, and now back the circles around. But in the opposite direction, because this form's turning this way now. This is still a little too bright in here. I'm going to come across this. And again, I should be making my circular motions here. What I want is this to stand out more brightly than what's up in here, because this is obscured by its skin. Well, you could call that skin, by its structure anyway. Not sure what the proper term is for that. Certainly not an expert on jellyfish, just find them interesting subject to paint, and an interesting subject to paint using this technique particularly. What I'm trying to do is clean up the edges a little bit here. I don't want this to be quite so sharp. It is turning away from us. And it is also obscured a little bit by the water that it's swimming in. But yeah, this is much more detail work than we normally are doing in our painting styles. But the results will be worth it. The thing with jellyfish also is they're an organic being. The edges don't have to be crisp and straight. They're more flowing and smooth. I'm just going to pull some down, the little fins going on along here. So usually a lot of little tentacles up and closer to the body of the fish. Just a lot of things going on here. Let's see here. Do anything with these? I just want to leave them. Alright. We're going to come back in with some white around this bottom edge and pull that forward, as well as continue to push this back a little bit. Oops. Get a little bit fuzzy there. I don't imagine that showing up on the camera itself, and if you stand back a foot or two, you're not going to notice the little bit of fuzzies when you overextend your edge just a little bit with the brush on a single brush stroke. Someone looking at it really close, they're going to see those things, but the average viewing distance for this painting, I don't think I would say it matters all that much. And how clear or dark the jellyfish is up to you by how dark you make this. If you see more of the water through him, he's more clear. So he affected the water less. Your viewing of the water behind him. Or her. I don't know if they even are. I don't think they're even gendered. But yeah, most of this painting is actually going to be doing details. Make sure we blend out that side of it. We want it to be sharp on this side, blended on this side. Helps represent the form and shape of our jelly friend. There's all kinds of shapes you can make with the overall painting, which direction they're going. And this one almost indicates there should be something here because they're all kind of swimming around something, but mostly they're just riding the currents in this case. But you could put some object of interest in here. And I'd originally decided to do this technique for a anglerfish until I looked up some anglerfish references and saw kind of not the most pretty animal. and didn't figure that there'd be any reason anybody would want them on their wall. But jellyfish are more beautiful creatures, almost angelic in form and structure. The way they float around in space, in the water, like they're floating in space. Alright, so we need to add the same treatment to this one. As I mentioned earlier, this one's going to be showing a bit of its bottom and inner side. So we gotta define that here. And then we'll go back in with a little bit of the black paint, I believe we'll use, to indicate that it's recessed. It's kind of funny is I don't even know that the smoothing it out is even showing up on the camera, and I can't, since I'm a one-man operation here, I can't go back and have it zoom in while I'm painting. So you're just going to have to imagine that when you're looking at your own canvas, you'll be able to see the difference. If you're just watching for the enjoyment of watching a painting come to life, I'm sorry, you won't be able to experience that smoothness occurring on this. And since they're kind of bioluminescent themselves, they're generating light in this picture. There's not really going to be much in the way of highlights. There's just going to be brighter spots and darker spots on the jellyfish themselves. That's kind of why you can see the stem, even though their skin's kind of covering it. Their body is that they're brighter in the center because of that, where the light generates. We may even want to do the same kind of a smoothing thing to the tentacles with a much, much smaller brush. Give them more of a, depends if you want to add in a little bit of light and shadow to give them more of a ribbon-like appearance, or if you want them to be more of a rounded appearance, which kind of shading you apply. I gotta be careful here because some of these are tentacles are on this side of the fish, and some of them are not. So we're going to get back in here. I think I'll drop down to like a filbert here. Got a nice little number 2 filbert to kind of smooth this out back in here. So I don't want to grab this tentacle that's in front. But I want these to feel connected to the back side. Again, very, very light. Almost not touching the canvas. So you can pick up a little bit of paint so you know you're touching the canvas, but very lightly. Just gonna move this paint around. We'll come back in with some black paint to add some more definition. Yeah, and we'll do some white highlights around the edge so you can see where it turns over itself, the tentacles. Like in here, which one is on top. Would be more defined when we get done with the blending. And hopefully the stream's still going strong. I've been having a few issues with the internet connectivity here, where it wants to drop me off just long enough the stream ends short prematurely, and then I have to go back and render the video, find time to render it and upload it, and not need the computer and internet for anything else because it consumes my majority of my bandwidth to do an upload. Ever so lightly, ever so lightly. You don't want to swim with jellyfish though. They tend to leave a little bit of a stinging reminder of why. Fortunately, the times that I've been to the ocean, I don't live near an ocean, so my interactions with jellyfish have been seeing one or two that's washed ashore, but they've not been around when I've been there to swim, so I've been fortunate. Had some family members, cousins and whatnot, have been stung in the past. Not an experience they would like to repeat. And not one that I would like to experience. Let's see here, where's this one going to be coming across at? Somewhere right in here. A little bit aggressive in there. Pushing a little too hard, gotta soften my touch a little bit. I was leaving more in the brushstroke department than I wanted to. And that can happen when you're painting. It's not a big deal. You just go back over it, soften your touch and go back over it, pull those brush strokes out. This technique is so amazing. Black canvas takes care of a good bit of the work for you, and then adding in white light into a dark color or even a yellow. If I had used yellow for the light, we would end up with some green jellyfish, which, try it. See if you like the green better than the blue, just by changing one paint out of the mix. Taking the white out and putting in a yellow. And it can be a soft yellow, like an ochre, or it can be a cool yellow, like a more of a vibrant yellow, like a cadmium hue. Jellyfish are so smooth on their surface. And so you want to do what you can do to make that smoothness come across in your painting. Helps make them, this illusion of jellyfish, more believable. Because that's what painting is. You're capturing a vision onto a canvas. And if you're going for realism, it's very much an illusion. Properly representing what the light and shadow would be on the object, you can make it look like it's actually sitting right here on your canvas. And you can do this too. All it takes is a little bit of practice and some determination to paint and have fun. You'll be creating wonderful paintings in no time, all on your own. Friends, delighting your friends and family, others in your community that like to buy your work for their walls. It's actually a very fabulous little skill set to have. Alright, so I think we're going to do some of this like we did over there, pulling down some more. Fine tentacles up closer to the fish. Now I talked about using the black to darken it a little bit. I'm going to take another filbert. This one's a number 6 filbert. And the sizes are kind of funny. It's sort of like shoes. Different brands seem to have a slightly different sizes. I think they're supposed to be, some of them are in millimeters, but you can compare them and they're slightly different how they measure there. We don't need a lot of paint on here, so we need to, picked up some paint, but we're going to try to get some of it off the brush here. So it's not going to take much to really have the effect we want. Already you can see how much darker this is than everything around it, and we didn't have hardly any paint on there. Even going back into where I smoothed the paint out, clear bunch down here, to pick up more, because I don't want a lot of paint here. We do want some of the extra definition it's going to give us. Make sure you keep this edge tight here. I'm sure there'll be people that are like, well, jellyfish aren't really darker on the inside, they're lighter, and you should have used white. And that may be the case. And if that's the case, or you believe it to be the case, that's what you can do in your own painting. For me, I want to show this volume inside, and so I decided to darken the inside instead of the outside, which, artistic license, if you will. You don't always have to be right. You just have to represent what you're trying to represent, that there's a division here. Kind of like the inside of a cup. Usually the light comes from outside the cup, so it's darker on the inside. But since the jellyfish is kind of emanating light, it probably would be lighter here. So it might make the painting just look off. We'll see what we think when we're all done. And my choice of using black to darken it rather than the turquoise may also come back to affect the painting. All these decisions, they affect the end result. And this is where practice comes in, experience. Since this is the first time I'm attempting this type of a painting with this technique, I'm not entirely certain what the impact of my decisions is going to be. The only thing that's going to teach that to you is experience. Having done that, I suppose someone could tell you if you were willing to listen. Until you see it for yourself, you're not going to quite understand why. So it's better to make those mistakes and remember them and learn from them as you go forward. So now you get a feeling that there's space in here and that this jellyfish is, I didn't give that one some extra tentacles inside, so I'll do that now. And it's going to be making sure you start the tentacles on the rim that they originate from. You want to leave that black dark area in between so that people can see their individual tentacles here. And so you want a few that generate on this side. And also have that black in the darker values in the middle to let you know that they're on this side. That's where they originated from. But they're going to cross over the chasm there. Alright, so now we're going to take a small, probably ought to use this liner brush here. We're going to add in some white highlights to the edges, but not to be completely white, just much brighter than the surrounding colors. And more directly define. See how quickly it just picks up that paint and turns dark. Probably gonna have to use a heavier brush to do this. Alright. Adding some oil. Trying to thin it down a little bit. So I want this to stick on top. I don't want to blend in quite as much, I just want it to live on top. What this is doing is helping us define which of these tentacles is on top. You probably can't see it from that view back there, but if you were to stand closer to the painting, it adds a definition. Maybe the tentacle folds back on itself here and comes over into this side. And you just lift the brush as you get towards the end and pull away, so that you need that nice trailing. This one we want to define right on top. I'm going to have this one twist over itself here. Yeah, need more oil. Just picking up paint rather than laying what we want on top. by putting this highlight on top, I'm going to twist the brush a little bit just to kind of give the sensation of twisting on the painting itself of the tentacles. It gives a little more structure and definition to the tentacles themselves. And now I'm going to add a nice highlighted ring right here. And we'll come back with the fan brush and we're going to soften that edge a little bit. Quite a bit of paint I dropped in there. That really gives a definition to that edge. I do the same thing on this one, not quite as bright, but still present. And we'll blend that out a little bit so that it's not looking just like paint sitting on top of the canvas, but actually looks like it's part of the fish. They call them jellyfish. I don't think they're actually a fish, but since they live in the water. I'm going to do the same thing to this rim here. You can think of it as the rim of a cup. Remember, it's broken up by the tentacles on this side. I did not add the highlights to the rest of these tentacles either. So we're just going to do that. So I don't know, what are you seeing? Are you seeing jellyfish? Hopefully that's what you're able to see in this as you look at this painting. I'm just gonna twist this back. Maybe that was too bright, so I'll have to go over that with Sort of mesmerizing, just following these flowing tentacles right on out of the right on out of the scene. Alright, we are almost finished with this one. There's a little less happening than some of our other paintings, and that's alright. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to that fan brush we had. Go ahead and put the palette down for now. And go back to just softening this edge here where we made our rim. And just kind of lightly back and forth. Kind of little X shapes. Just where the bristles are touching. Very lightly. Soften that whole thing out. So I hope you enjoyed painting today's deep sea jellyfish. Something different than our usual landscapes. New technique using the black canvas to let the bioluminescence shine out of the darkness. Pretty cool. We'll be using a black canvas again on Friday. Haven't yet made a final decision on what the painting's going to be. Maybe a campfire or a fireplace. Things where you want to add stark light against a dark background. Yeah, there's the Northern Lights type paintings. Oops, that's not good. Blend this out as much as we can. I hope this painting captured the feel of Jellyfish for you. I know it did for me. Another thing just freely floating around out there. No rules, just existing. Very calming to paint as a subject. We're just pulling the slide away. And pull this back down around onto it. Just blend this together more here. And really we're just kind of adding some refinement. Smoothing it out. Connecting the jellyfish to his rim. There's a bit of extra paint in here. I want that bottom edge to remain pretty stark. We want the top edge to kind of flow right into the jellyfish. And sometimes doesn't always quite come out how you plan, but you just keep working at it. Try not to cover up that rim too much entirely here. We're getting some blending little bits issues here. There we are. That's starting to come together better. I had laid too much paint too thick here, and so it wants to spread rather than blend. And you'll have that occasionally. Means extra work. Now, blend this down just a little bit more. We're going to pull this down together. Want that tone to glow. Glow to mostly be connected there. Again, moving the brush with the surface of how the surface is defined. I'm trying to be light and not leave brush strokes, but they're micro brush strokes there, and it helps the light move around the object in a realistic manner. Right, down to just this last one here. We'll get it all blended out. And then we'll call this one done. So it's pretty nice when you can leave so much of the background unfilled. A lot of negative space. Really take advantage of having that black canvas. The way I made the canvas black is I just painted it with a flat black acrylic. It's kind of funny when you make an errant stroke how quickly it stands out. And there we are. I think stand back and see what I think about it, and might be about done with this one. We're going to sign our name the same way. We're going to take a little bit of white paint onto our brush, get some oil on there, thin it down. But I'm not going to do that on the air here. In the interest of time, your time's valuable, and watching me sign my name is not so entertaining. Yeah, I like it. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your painting, and I hope yours looks at least as interesting as mine does, if not better. And until next time, which will be Friday at 6:30, take care. Remember, don't be too hard on yourself. Just keep painting. Thank you. Bye-bye.